Artificial intelligence is already starting to change healthcare, from helping doctors organize patient records, to analyzing scans, to making care more accessible around the world. But for young people, the conversation goes beyond just innovation. It raises greater questions. Can we trust AI with something as personal as our health? Who's responsible when something goes wrong? And do young people actually have a say in how these systems are built? I recently attended the UN ECOSOC Youth Forum and interviewed 5 youth from different parts of the world who shared their perspectives on the future of AI in healthcare. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right, nice to meet you.
Hi.
We'll start with the first question then. So, the first question is a little bit about your general perspective. When you think about artificial intelligence in healthcare, what opportunities or benefits come to mind first?
Yeah, so I think AI in healthcare is like an emergent use case. You see basically a few use cases already, like radiology scans is a pretty interesting one, like AI as a surgical assistant. But also broadly, even before sort of patients get into the surgical room, you have like AI receptionists for like medical practitioners or like a dentist office or for a GP, a general practitioner, everything that can make it easier to access healthcare, but then improve the sort of actual healthcare delivery, so like actual like healthcare outcomes afterwards. So there's lots of opportunities. I think though this happens a lot in like entrepreneurship, like private sector bringing it in. But for example, in the UK, a healthcare system that is very slow and inefficient is very slow to also adopt AI systems and to use AI for good, which is a bit of a risk and something I think that's a blocker that I think more entrepreneurs and more people are trying to solve for, bring AI in.
When I think about artificial intelligence being used in healthcare, I think the first opportunities that come to mind are accessibility. I think that healthcare accessibility depends on a lot of factors like income and availability of physicians. So, when you use artificial intelligence and you incorporate it into the medical systems, I think that it increases accessibility and it gives a lot of people access to the healthcare resources that they might not have in the first place.
I would say one of the main things is administrative help. So there would definitely be a lot of help logistically in organizing patient records and organizing hospital records and making sure the file gets to the correct patient's room. Things such as DNR, which is extremely important in hospitals, that should be published, and AI can help the doctors know in case there's a file error in organizing. That can be AI could help in having doctors have that record so they know not to resuscitate or in cases like that. Also definitely in surgical procedures, because we're seeing a lot of use of robots now,
Definitely.
and it's definitely helping in very tiny surgeries which are extremely hard to perform with the human hand with shaking or just general visibility, but AI could definitely be a great tool in that.
I think like streamlining the process of diagnosing patients. Like AI has access to this large database, and they can probably more uh, easily and more efficiently make diagnoses and analyze like images, like MRIs and stuff. Um, and then I guess like AI doesn't really forget stuff. Um, so like human doctors could always just forget about a possible condition and not have that in their minds, but AI would, I guess, would just give you an entire list of possibilities.
Definitely.
Um, and I think AI would have less bias. I think there's this like thing where like student doctors, when they just read about a condition, they like think they have it. So it's like as a human doctor is learning new things, like it they're kind of stuck on those new things, whereas AI will just like uh AI won't be like biased when making its decisions, I guess.
Artificial intelligence can bring easier access for anyone for healthcare medical assistance. And ChatGPT has OpenAI have released some documents about uh, people in Africa, people in places that aren't accessible for healthcare. They are using ChatGPT to get medical informations to help them uh, care themselves. So I think artificial intelligence are getting more and more engaged with everyday healthcare.
To expand a little bit on that, what concerns, if any, do you have about AI being used in healthcare decisions or medical systems?
So there are quite a few concerns. One would obviously be hallucination, because AI hallucinates a lot, and even the most advanced models do tend to mess up simple math problems and things like that. And I think obviously there's error fixing and bug troubleshooting, but this is very serious. It's like life or death situations in some cases, so that would be very important. Another would be malfunctioning. If there's, like, suppose a blackout, what would the AI do if it was performing a procedure and there was a blackout? It would just be completely turned off, right? So that's another
Yeah.
big issue. And I think in general, just AI not accepting instructions from the main server, from the human that's guiding it. And if a doctor was using AI to assist in the procedure and the AI just went off the course of the procedure, that could cause major errors.
I think that AI has high potential when being used in the medical industry and the medical systems, because it really increases in efficiency. But I think some concerns that I have are probably spreading false information, because AI is known for hallucinating and for making up information, like making up sources and just like spreading wrong diagnosis. So if patients just blindly trust what AI tells them, then they will most likely harm themselves or diagnose themselves without any actual research.
I guess AI won't really, like, as of right now, won't really think about the patient as much as like just treating the condition. AI is also obviously not real, so there's no like uh empathy. So if like the patient doesn't feel safe or something like that, AI can't really relate to it. AI can't really like care for the patient like holistically. It can only like treat the symptoms and make a cure, but it might be at the expense of the patient's mental health or something like that.
Because I developed a biomedical AI app. So my concern while developing the app is about data privacy. I can look at the video they uploaded. After that, I coded and I set up a deletion after anyone upload the video. But we cannot assume that every developer will do the same thing. So when we are using our X-rays or using our medical informations uploaded to their APIs, it's very dangerous for they can actually see you, see
Definitely.
your identities and other sensitive informations.
Well, there's two things. One is about trust, right? So I think the big issue is whether or not humans trust in AI systems to make critical judgments around health, which is obviously like high consequence, right? In that. So I think it's a question of how do you create trust? And right now, because AI is founded, AI is trained off like data that may or may not be have certain biases. I think there's a trust gap around like trusting AI to be put in these the most high consequential decisions, right? So I think that's bucket one. I think bucket two is around like a similar idea of just you need a human in the loop. So I think the sense is that if you're just letting AI again, they take these high consequence actions by itself. Who's responsible? Who's going to be accountable for it, right? Is it the doctor who decided to use this AI system? Is it the patient who signs a sort of waiver? So I think there's all these like unclear, untested sort of issues of AI in healthcare. But also, again, there's so much opportunity because all of these use cases are new. And if we reach a point where AI reaches like this general intelligence, healthcare is one of the areas where we could see the biggest gain in terms of not just again healthcare delivery, but also just in like foundational science, right? In terms of like AI for cancer research, AI for like new drug discovery, and that's going to be huge. Like that would completely transform the whole concept we have on longevity as well. So big opportunity. A lot of it is just unresolved. Not yet. People are trying to figure it out.
And moving on to the next questions, a little bit about deeper reflection. So, do you believe AI should ever make medical decisions without direct human oversight? Why or why not?
I don't think so. I feel like there should always be somebody like who's double checking because AI is not will never be 100% accurate. There's always going to be that tiny percent chance, and even if AI is implemented in healthcare, like I still think like you can't just fire all the doctors. So like this would also be helpful in like making sure there's not a bunch of layoffs. And I think having human oversight will also make AI better, as humans can like analyze and give feedback to the developers. And yeah,
Yeah, that's definitely a good perspective to have. And next, who do you think should be held accountable if an AI system in healthcare makes a harmful mistake? The developer, the hospital, the doctor, or someone else, and why?
everybody involved would be at fault if AI were to make a mistake.
Not now, because artificial intelligence cannot take responsibility of an incorrect decision. So, a human being supervising it can make decisions based on the AI suggestion, but AI cannot make their decision by their own because they cannot take the consequences if they made a bad decision.
I don't think so, because I think human oversight is very key. It doesn't have to be throughout each process if it's minor decisions, but just one human overviewing the decisions and just clicking an approve button,
Mm.
especially in healthcare, because in certain situations AI can ignore certain human like knowledge. Like for example, a doctor would have treated one patient 20 years back who had a similar condition. In the books, that case has never been published, but the doctor would know how to treat it. So that certain level of expertise AI wouldn't have, which is why I wouldn't think AI should make decisions without human oversight.
I think no, in the sense again, one is a perception issue. It's like you need some person that you can trust, and you need some interface of like accountability, and a human is going to provide that. I think where AI can do its best work in healthcare is this angle that we can again help triage, for example, help make processes easier for medical practitioners, like people coming into a clinic. You can streamline the sort of administrative process. But I think where AI lags behind is again that like medical expertise, but also judgment that extends beyond pattern recognition. Right? A lot of the system is trained on just like what's happened before, therefore like we extrapolate what's happening after. It's good at identifying these type of like hard edge problems where you know there's an answer. But a lot of cases in medical practices or beyond, there's a lot of these fuzzy cases. You need some level of human ingenuity. So I think until we reach a point where there's maybe a general intelligence system where we say AI is better in almost all domains of human cognition, people will feel safer. There will be more accountability if there's a human in the loop, which I think is a better way to have like human AI collaboration in a way. So yeah, I'd say it doesn't make sense until maybe like a decade maybe when there's trust, but also there's some way that we know that AI systems are actually better in not just pattern recognition and these simple stuff, but actually making these like more qualitative judgments on it.
When AI makes decisions, it should definitely have some sort of human oversight before reaching the patient. I think if patients believe what they say, what AI models say blindly, as I said before, then they will most likely harm themselves or it would lead to misdiagnosis. But if doctors are involved and doctors check what AI tells them, then it increases accuracy and it prevents harm. At the same time, I think that AI can definitely be used and like be implemented to assist doctors. I'm a big believer that AI can be incorporated into our healthcare systems in the future.
Yeah, that's a great perspective to have. And who do you think should be held accountable if an AI system in healthcare does make a harmful mistake? The developer, the hospital, the doctor, or a mix in between?
It should be mixed in between. First is the developer. The app should be reconsidered if it is accountable for using on real patients. The doctor should be think more carefully about the decision about from AI. They should look closer. They should double check it
Mm.
to prevent any consequences for the decision.
Everybody involved would be at fault if AI were to make a mistake. I don't really know. Like, yeah,
I think this is also one of the biggest questions up
yeah,
for debate. That's why I'm asking for so many opinions because it's hard to put blame on one specific person, right?
yeah.
For this.
I think it really depends on the situation, but most of the time, if doctors are the ones who are using AI and implementing them into healthcare systems, then the doctors should be held accountable because before what AI tells the patients actually reaches the patients, doctors should review it and make sure that it's actually accurate using their knowledge and experience as
Yep.
doctors, because they go through so many years of education. So if doctors just blindly trust AI and then send that information to their patients and then the patients get harmed, I would blame the doctors.
Yeah, that's the golden question. I think it's really tough. I'd say that everyone has some like degree of accountability, but at the end of the day, I think it's up to the doctor or the medical practitioner. I think the developer could build in safeguards or like guardrails and everything. But I think they will acknowledge to some extent and have some neighbors that are like, well, this is not a perfect product, yada yada. So I think it's therefore the user, in a sense, the medical practitioner, who decides to take on the risk, knowing what risks are involved in using an AI system, and then making a judgment based on that. And I think policy is going to frame around this as well. Like it's like, well, the developer creates a range of like exemptions, like a lot of disclaimers. And at the end of the day, if you're choosing to take on that risk as a medical practitioner, either to take on more patients, either to do things more efficiently, when things go wrong, which they may will do, you have to take on that responsibility. Right? There's upside, there's downside.
I think a mix of between, because one person cannot be responsible. I would obviously say the overview, or like whoever's approving the AI's decisions, would be mainly responsible. Furthermore, the hospital, because they've authorized the use of AI,
Yep.
and then the developer, of course, because it's what actually developed the system. So I think to a certain extent, all of them would be responsible. It would just be different levels of responsibility.
Yeah. And the last two questions are a little bit about youth governance. So, do you think young people currently have enough influence in shaping how AI is used in healthcare and society? Why or why not?
I don't personally. I don't think so. I think young people have much more influence on like commercial uses of AI. I think there's some momentum like building, influencing these big AI companies, like recently. So I think in the future, I think young people will have more influence. But right now, I think it's just like the big heads of the companies, the powerful people, and like insurance companies who are thinking about this and have the most power.
I'd say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that I guess it depends how you define young people. Innovations and progress is coming from very young entrepreneurs, right, from the Valley or elsewhere in Europe, where they're producing these very novel assistants, either let's say LLM in like administration for like medical clinic, for example, or I know one that's more doing like foundational science, that's like AI for medical research. And a lot of these are basically founded by people in their 20s or maybe even early 30s. So there's, I think, a specific opportunity for this like novel, new way of thinking process that young people have. But I think from a governance standpoint, I think a lot of this will fall down to industry, from the sort of medical sector itself, also to like broadly like AI industry, and I think those are still very gate kept institutions, right? It's a highly regulated environment. So I think for a young person to really influence that is quite tough, unless they do so from like a market-based perspective, like launching a new product or showing like cost effectiveness or showing like better patient outcomes or some very practical sentiment. So that's my take. I'm sure there's work being done on the policy level.
I don't think young people have a very large stake, because obviously people are creating AI models, AI language models, AI studying models, because such as Turbo AI, for example, they are actually targeting problems that students face. But they aren't being given a stake on the global stage. Investors aren't investing in them. That's causing that AI to be expensive. So students can't actually use what it was developed for. So I think youth making AI should be much more pushed in society, because at the end of the day, the youth is going to be using the AI. So they're a very key stakeholder, and that's why they should be involved. And I think that's really important.
Currently, I think that youth do not have enough influence in shaping how AI is used in healthcare and society as a whole, because there's this stigma that youth aren't experienced enough and not knowledgeable enough compared to adults, when in reality, I think youth are just not given the opportunity to spread their ideas and to raise awareness about certain topics. Um, Even though adults have experience and like because they're older, they've been working in the system for a long time, so they think that they have more experience, which is true, but this also leads to them overlooking a lot of key issues and failing to see the gaps in healthcare that youth might have noticed. I think that youth also are more innovative, and we are all developing solutions that can truly change the systems.
Definitely not enough. Artificial intelligence is a very high technology ground, which uh, aren't suitable for young youth right now. The most complicated part is that artificial intelligence technologies are held in big companies, not in government, not in everyone. So the chances of you engaging with the real development or the real decisions about AI is minimum.
Yeah. That was one of the big sentiments at the youth class today as well. And last question, what is one policy, safeguard, or change you believe should be implemented to ensure AI in healthcare is used ethically?
I think that definitely a human oversight board should be implemented to make sure every decision AI makes is doctor approved, is patient approved. And I think patients should have a very large say. AI should be involved in that procedure, because obviously, if a patient doesn't consent to it, it's not ethically right to use AI on that patient.
I think it's probably down to that accountability question, and that raises the stakes, right? So if you're saying at the end of the day, no matter what the AI system would develop or something like that, if you as a medical practitioner decide to use AI for your practice and for like your work, there has to be accountability for all to you. I think some aspect of that will create this environment where there's just higher stakes, right? You have a vested interest in ensuring that you understand the AI system that you're using, you're understanding the application and the use case, and that you hold ultimate responsibility and make a judgment. And as a result, I think that will help people not outsource maybe their judgment to AI completely and rely purely on systems, but have some degree of saying, okay, this is the advice from this AI system, or this is what the AI system identified, combining it with like traditional methods or this, again, human judgment. I think it's probably just the best way to go, again, for the near future.
One policy or safeguard or change that I think should be implemented to make sure that AI is being used ethically and responsibly is human oversight. So I think that doctors or physicians or some sort of professional should definitely be a part of the process so that AI doesn't spread any false information and ensures patient safety. Without this step, it's we all know that people have harmed themselves because they blindly believe everything that AI tells them. So when you incorporate professionals into this process, it really reduces the harm and reduces the risk of patients harming themselves.
The one thing about AI in medical is whenever an AI suggests anything, it should be treated as a normal person just suggesting, not a doctor diagnosis. The AI can suggest, but they can't make decisions that will directly influence our human body.
I think having human oversight is probably the best option. You have to find like actual doctors because they actually understand, like they'll understand the ethics better than say like a developer or just an AI analyst, something like that. So I think having nurses or healthcare professionals be overseeing AI's actions would be the best.
That's all the questions there was. Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time.
Thank
Then.
you.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you for your time. Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you for your time.
Yep.
Across all 5 interviews, there's a very clear shared sentiment. Young people are hopeful about AI in healthcare and the opportunities it presents, but they're also cautious. On one hand, they see real potential. AI could make healthcare more accessible, especially in places where doctors or resources are limited. It can help with diagnosis, organize complex medical data, support surgeries, and even speed up research. For many of the interviewees, AI wasn't just a tool. It was viewed as something that could genuinely improve healthcare on a systemic level. However, for all participants, that optimism comes with strong boundaries, especially considering the current state of AI's development in healthcare. Almost everyone agreed on one key idea. AI should never replace human decision-making in healthcare. There must always be human oversight from a doctor or other professionals monitoring the AI's work. Many share the sentiment that, at the end of the day, medicine isn't entirely about data or statistics. It's about people. And AI, at least as of right now, can't fully understand the context, emotion, or the human side of care. There are also major unavoidable risks present at this time, from incorrect outputs to system failures to bias in data. Today's youth believe that human oversight cannot be viewed as optional. It must be treated both ethically and legally as essential to AI's integration into healthcare. Another major theme that was shared amongst interviewees was the burden of responsibility and accountability. According to youth's consensus, when something does go wrong in an AI's decision-making, the blame cannot simply fall on one person. The youth consistently described accountability as shared between developers, hospitals, and doctors, as it was a combination of decisions from all three that led to the allowance of AI into major medical procedures. However, some youth pointed out that healthcare professionals still carry the final responsibility, because they're the ones making the deciding call to trust and use AI in real situations. Based on these conclusions, youth agreed that AI can support decisions, but it shouldn't replace accountability. At the same time, there's a shared sense that youth voices are still missing from the bigger picture of AI policymaking. All of the interviewees felt that decisions about AI in healthcare are still being made and controlled mainly by large institutions, like governments, corporations, and industry leaders, with limited input from young people. Viewing the opportunity to express their concerns as one of the primary motivations for coming to the UN Youth Forum, they believe that all youth have valuable perspectives, especially when it comes to innovation and identifying gaps in any existing systems, not just attached to AI. So overall, the message isn't that young people are either for or against the use of AI in healthcare. It's far more nuanced than that. They willingly support its continued growth and integration, but not blindly. They want AI in healthcare to develop, but responsibly, with clear safeguards, with human judgment at the center, and with more voices, especially youth voices, included in shaping what comes next. Because for them, the future of healthcare isn't just about how advanced the technology becomes. It's about whether the technology can truly understand and serve people.